Well, as more aspirants drop out of the race for the ruling People's Democratic Party's ticket for the 2024 governorship election ticket, a picture of who the major contenders will be is beginning to emerge as the opposition All Progressives Congress in the state intensifies the search for a consensus candidate ahead of party primaries that are expected to be held later on this month, in a bid to ensure that Edo APC is united to take over the reign of power from Godwin Obaseki's PDP-led administration in Edo State. APC leaders have entered into a marathon meeting in Abuja several times with all the governorship aspirants of the party in attendance, aiming to produce a consensus candidate for the party. But well, despite all of this, it's been pretty difficult arriving at a consensus candidate. And of course, we've got 13 aspirants having purchased forms this time around. And as it stands right now, several of them are willing to ensure that the party comes out top. Well, let's speak to a former Attorney General of Edo State and Commissioner for Justice, Henry Idahagbon, who is also a member of the All Progressives Congress. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Yeah,
Edo APC, I mean, the APC used to be the former ruling party in the state until one of your own actually decided to leave and get into the PDP, which has now become the governing party in the state. That's Godwin Obaseki. Talk to us about how the APC will try to prevent the previous situations that brought the fears of godfatherism. And when someone got into power, he wanted to break free from that godfatherism.
Well, I hope and I pray that the APC in Edo State is not wittingly or unwittingly working very hard to lose the election, the 2024 election, even before the first ballot is cast. And I say this with all sense of responsibility against the background in your narrative. You mentioned about the attempt to get a consensus and the committee set up in Abuja. It is going to be difficult to have a consensus when you have 29 aspirants, many of them very eminently qualified to be the governor of Edo State. In fact, one of them is a former governor of Edo State, Professor Sarem Osubo. He ruled the state for 1 year and 6 months before he was sent packing by the courts. So any attempt to impose or to force any of the aspirants on the party may spell doom. Before the contest started, it was agreed, the party had a written statement that there will be no zoning, and then that it will be a free and fair elections for all the aspirants. So the party must stand on that agreement. All those who have bought forms now, all 13 of them, should be allowed to go to the field to canvass their point of view to the party members, so that ultimately the best will emerge. Any attempt, like you said about Godfather, we know our former Governor Adams Oshomole was somebody who fought against Godfatherism in the state. In fact, the mantra during his governorship was one man, one vote. One Godfather, one vote. One governor, one vote. So Edo State is too cosmopolitan, is too civilized, politically sophisticated to allow another Godfather. After the last one we had, they passed on peacefully. So there will be no godfatherism in APC. And like I agree with what the immediate guest, your immediate past guest, said about the sophistication of our people. Things are changing. In fact, things have changed. We now have a very vibrant electorate in Edo State. They have the power, they have the capacity to discern the good aspirant or the good candidate from the bad candidate. And that the APC, if we must win the next election, they must allow all the aspirants to go to the field on the 17th, and hopefully the best will emerge. And that is the only way we can take on the Labour Party and the PDP. Before now, election in Edo State used to be a two-way thing between the PDP and the APC. Now it is triangular. It is triangular. You know, I listened to...
The voters are becoming sophisticated.
Yes, and also now triangular. I listened to Mr. Tommy Sewe when he was speaking. You know, beautiful speech. Beautiful speech. You can't take anything away from him. He's an accomplished Edo person. He's qualified to be the governor of Edo State. We have so many of them in the Labour Party. We can't wish them away. The Labour Party is a movement that was not planned. What a child of accident of history. You know, the immediate past federal government in Nigeria created the fertile ground for the emergence of the Labour Party that we have today. And it's a reality. And like you said, Edo State is one of the most fertile states for the Labour Party. We saw it during the presidential election.
Yeah, but is the APC not counting on federal might to be able to push through? I mean, isn't that the reason why some of your leaders are toying with these issues of a consensus candidate, or, I mean, reducing the number to about 6, like a screening committee had said, so that if one person is just picked, others will rally around, and then you get the power from Abuja through President Tinubu, and you win.
I am a grassroots politician. I haven't started at the ward level. I have been a council chairman. I have participated in party politics up to the national level. I am a former member of the national executive of the PDP. You see, the days of federal power or state power, they have come and they are gone. What we have now is the people's power. If any party is hoping or relying on any federal power to win the election in Edo State, that party should be ready for a shocker. So we have to present our very best candidate, and we have them. And beside...
talk to us about some of your aspirants. There are several of them, just like you talked about. Former Minister Clem Agbon. You also have former Governor Osareme Osumbo, your former candidate in 2020.
Pastor
Sageziamo. There are so many of them, I can name them. So you have a very good squad. How do you ensure that a good one comes out of them?
You see, we have a very good squad. But of the squad, one is better, or one is the best of all the squad, because he has the organized private sector experience, he has the public sector experience, and he has been very accomplished in everything he has taught. He's like a man with a Midas touch.
Who
and
exactly
I'm talking of Prince Clem Agbon.
Oh, okay.
Former minister. As former minister, for example, he was Minister of State.
Yeah.
For just 3.5 years, he was able to attract close to 100 projects to the state. I make bold to say, and I stand to be corrected, not even in the heydays of Chief Anene. When Chief Anene was the Minister of Works in this country, he was the de facto Vice President of the country. He didn't attract 10 projects to the whole of Edo State. And I say this with all respect to his memory. With all respect to his memory. And we have had ministers upon ministers. You're talking about zoning when Mr. Segoye was here, and he was talking about central contract and all that. The central, Edo Central has produced 6 ministers, including Minister of Works. But they were not able to attract 10, 20 projects. Clem was able to attract verifiable. Many of them 80, 90% completed in the 3 central districts of the state. This is a man who was a manager in Chevron. He was the first African to be manager of Chevron in Kazakhstan. He was seconded from Nigeria to be manager in Kazakhstan with 1,502 staff members. None of them was an African. All white people, Kazakh, German, Americans, Britain.
Yeah, but we are talking about local politics.
Yes,
now.
local politics.
And he's got 28 other aspirants to win.
Local politics, he was 2-time commissioner. We were contemporaries as commissioner. I was Attorney General when he was commissioner for environment.
Yeah.
He did very well. He was responsible for the urban renewal program of Oshomole. In Edo State today, Oshomole is regarded as the apostle of development. Because when he came to Edo State, the state was in ruin, just like the state is now. As I speak to you now, Edo State is like a patient in an emergency ward. You know, with all those gadgetry you see in the hospital.
Yeah, but the same Oshomole cannot remove himself from the challenges, because, I mean, he brought in Godwin Obaseki.
Well, that is the tragedy. That is the tragedy of the Oshomole government, that upon his exit, he chose the very worst. Basically, we all work together in the government.
Yeah, and people will ask, if someone like Clem performed beautifully like you are painted here, yes, why didn't he choose Clem or choose even you yourself?
At that time, it was not possible to choose Clem because both of them came from the same senatorial district. And there was the need then. You know, the bulk of the population of Edo State is centered in the Edo South senatorial district where I'm from. We are almost 60% of the state. Mr. Segoye came from the central, they are just about 12-13% of the state. And I don't know that's 27% of the state. But what we are even saying now is that the situation of the state is so bad that we don't care where the next governor comes from. We are interested in somebody that can
think so? You think the electorate doesn't care?
No, many people don't.
Because the talk here is that if someone like Clem is coming from Edo North,
yes,
and Edo North had done 8 years then, yes, before Edo South,
yes,
shouldn't there be some sort of social justice, political justice for it to go to Edo Central?
The position was never zoned to Edo North. Agbon was not a product of consensus or zoning. And that's why I said that if you're talking about people qualified to be the next governor, Osareme Osumbo should even be excluded. because he won election. We were all part of the election. He won, but he couldn't defend his election. Osomole came from outside with bare hands and chased him away from Zadebo Avenue, and he took occupancy of the place. So Osomole was not a product of any zoning or any consensus. He won through the courts.
It was a product of one man, one vote.
Yeah, it was a product of one man, one vote. So the issue of that zoning should not arise. But the point I'm trying to make, I'm trying to illustrate it with an extreme situation. As an individual, if it's not possible to have anybody, or let me put it this way, if I'm convinced that you, I don't know, maybe you are from, maybe let's assume you are from FCT.
Yeah, and I'm from FCT.
Oh, well, okay. So if I'm convinced you are the next person to be governor of Edo State, and I don't have confidence in all these people are lined up, I would rather support you, an FCT indigene, to be governor of Edo State than to bring another Obaseki in Edo State.
And you think the electorate will back that?
Look, our electorate are interested on who can solve their basic problem. I like the question you asked him. What are you bringing on board? And I saw a lot of theorizing. I was an elected council chairman, so I know the state, and I've been through the whole of Edo State over 100 times on gubernatorial campaigns. I was the secretary of the campaign council of Osomole when he ran for second term. So I know the state. People are interested in Edo North. As sophisticated as he spoke here, they don't have water in the senatorial district. No water. It will take a Tomiso to have borehole in his own house. And if he's generous, then 2 or 3 other people will have, he will extend it to them and allow them to come with buckets and jerry cans to take water from his house. Clemagba, as minister, sank about 5 or 6 functional boreholes in Edo Central. I remember when Osomole was governor, he bought a rig for borehole rig.
Yeah,
he bought one for Central.
Yes,
he bought one for Central, one for the North, one for the South. But I cannot now sit here and say it was a success in Edo Central, because they have very difficult terrain and the water table is very deep, so it's difficult to get water there. So people want the Edo Central people, for example, now they don't want grammar, they don't want Wall Street, they don't want Ford Executive. They want somebody that can a water tanker cost about 35 to 40,000. In Edo Central now, they want someone that can provide potable water for them. And not just water, potable water.
For example, you mentioned that you have an interest in Clem Agba, who was your former colleague in the Edo State cabinet.
Yes.
But people will say that he went into federal government. Why didn't he attract the sort of project that will bring water to the people of Edo State, for example? High capacity dams or things like that?
What Agba did as minister for 3.5 years, minister of state, can be equated to a miracle. What he did. I'm talking about water. In Edo North, for example, is building a tank in Edo North that will store 6 million gallons of water every day. That alone will provide water for the whole of Auchi. I mentioned about the boreholes in several places. When he went commissioning them, one of the biggest traditional rulers in Edo Central is the Onoji of Oromi. He was physically there to witness the commissioning. So within the limited time that he was minister, and don't forget, under the government under which he served. Yeah. Let's not forget that.
All right. As Minister of State.
He did as Minister of State.
Yeah.
Minister of State for Budget and Planning.
All right. As we try to round off this conversation, talk to us about the APC's chances. In a state where Obaseki is doing everything to ensure that his preferred candidate, someone said anointed candidate, actually wins that election, hands down. Talk to us about the APC's chances.
You see, the election is for the APC to lose. The election is a low-hanging fruit for us to pick and win. Obaseki's government will go down in the history of Edo State as the most ruinous. I think it was
some members of the APC contributed to that ruin.
How?
Well, he was one of your members before.
Yes. By the time we realized that he was ruinous, that's why we refused to allow him to contest again under our party in 2020. Then he went to PDP, started shouting, Ogbane, it is finished, and it is finished for our people today. Today, people are lamenting. Benin City, Edo State is a state of lamentations.
All right.
So, I believe,
very quickly,
that Obaseki is beatable, PDP is beatable, and when you now take this with their internal contradictions and all the problems they have, that's why Odalo is a nice person, corporate guru, we respect him. but his godfather is being promoted by is a good product being marketed by a very terrible company, and he cannot win. So the election is for us to just pick and win.
Well, that
but we have to
starts from your party primary. Yes. I just hope you will get it right.
That is the point. That's why I said I hope the leadership is not working, whether directly or indirectly, to lose the election before the first ballot is cast. And one way of not losing the election is to ensure free and fair election during the primary. And I pray that Agbon gets it. It will be a very easy thing for us to sell his candidacy.
All right, Barrister Idahagbon is actually a former Commissioner for Justice and Attorney General of Edo State. And I mean, you seem very versed in the APC politics, having participated all through the state cabinet. So we hope to have you here some other time again. We must thank you so much for joining us to help us understand the issues in the Edo State APC.